Welcome to the Quit Vaping podcast, the podcast designed to make you a non-listener. In this show, I'm not going to scare you away from a life of vaping. What I am going to do is show you just how good your life can be without it. Thank you so much for listening and enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to episode 61. And what I want to tell you guys is that we are about to roll into fall in Michigan, okay? I'm going to say it. I've said it before. I'll say it again. If you have not experienced fall in Michigan with the leaves changing, it's like you have to come, because not only is the weather absolutely perfect for human life to flourish, I tell you, it's like the perfect conditions for human life to have the windows open in your house and like fresh breeze roll in, and then the leaves are just ridiculously beautiful. But we also are Halloween people. So in Michigan, the entire state becomes solely focused on October 31st from like today, pretty much the end of August until November 1st. And it is the coolest 2 months ever. And it is so freaking cool because like anywhere you go, it's like early 2000s, 90s nostalgia of Halloween, and the air smells different. There's caramel smell everywhere. We have apple orchards, and we have spooky haunted houses, and we have like so many beautiful leaves, and there's so much costumes, like parties, trick-or-treating, and it's just like, it's my favorite place to be in the whole world during this time of year, and I'm so grateful to be here. So in addition to it being fall, I want to catch you up on my life a little bit, okay? So in terms of my personal life, I have been living at my parents' house for about 3 weeks now. I'm currently single. I haven't dated somebody since about March, and there are goods and bads to everything, right? Like any circumstance, you can find goods or bads, okay? So what I recommend for you as an adult who is going to have a human brain that wants to seek out the negative and the positive is let your experience be exactly what it is without making judgments about it. And what I mean by that is I am simultaneously so grateful and so privileged to be back home with my family, who I love dearly. And at the same time, I'm making plans and asking for more for my life. So it's okay to be grateful and also be like, there are things here, living here, that I would like to change. I think so much of the time, especially because the word privilege gets thrown around so often in society, it's like we feel guilty for where we're at and we try to force ourselves to feel grateful for things. And it's like, it's okay to be grateful and to also not be grateful at the same time. And when you stop fighting against the negative emotion that's just normal, a part of life, you can get curious about it, okay? And this goes for the vaping too. When you're fighting against anxiety and shame, right? A lot of shame, you guys. By the way, if you're vaping and you can't stop and you're beating yourself up, you're shaming yourself, okay? When you're shaming yourself and trying to avoid it, and stressed and trying to avoid it with vaping, and anxious and trying to avoid it with vaping, you're actually cutting yourself off from learning about who you actually are. Okay? It's like, I shouldn't feel those negative emotions towards that person. I'm a bad person. No, it's like, why do we feel them? Without judgment. So drop the judgment over your own emotions. And that is the work you need to step into to quit vaping for good, or whatever your substance is, or if you just want to quit vaping so much, or if you want to take control over it. The reason you don't have control is because you're trying to ignore your negative emotion and guilt yourself into not feeling anything negative. And I promise you, that is a sure path right to an addiction that feels out of your control. So anyways, I'm living at home with my parents, and then on a business note, I have been revamping my quit vaping program. It is amazing. And it's not just it is for quitting vaping is the main goal, but also remember the tools that I teach about how to manage your thoughts and your emotions. The end goal for you has never been to quit vaping. It's been just the beginning goal. Like you learning how to manage your thoughts and feel your emotions around your life is what allows you to step into the life you want. If I didn't learn this skill set and practice it every day as a coach, then I would not be creating this big life for myself. So yes, quitting vaping is awesome. That's the result you want, but that's just the icing on the cake of learning the skill set behind life so you can actually take actions and go after your dreams. So if you're considering getting that program, the sales page is linked. Right now it's pretty cheap, and then I'm going to up it. I'm going to up it, and it's going to stay up. And it's going to be, I want it to be a $1,000 program at some point, and it's probably going to even go further than that because it's not just about quitting vaping, and it's going to include so many goodies. Like right now, I'm coming out with this exact step-by-step plan for every single student to take, step 1 through 30 or whatever the steps are, in order to take the course and quit vaping for good. It's a direct plan to your success. And if you are not succeeding, you're going to know exactly why and where you need to work on so you can work on it and quit. In addition, I'm creating a facts page. I'm doing a whole entire booklet about the actual truth with modern research. I'm also going to create a whole entire side quest because I've been doing like the hero's journey stuff a lot, but it's going to be like a side program that's included. And we'll do workshops on it about not gaining weight after you quit. And it'll also teach you about things like insulin, leptin, ghrelin, because I was originally an overeating coach and relationship coach before I got into other substances like vaping. So that's what's happening. I will be running a webinar to that program at some point. I'll be doing Facebook ads. You'll see it on Facebook. I'll be trying to get people onto the webinar. And then the whole point of the webinar is to show you how the course actually is going to help you solve your problem and solve it. I will also be doing video sales page. So in terms of my business, I am just letting it go exactly how I want it to. I'm not trying to push and be somewhere I'm not. And that's really good advice for you guys, no matter where you're at in your life. Is like, you are where you are, and that's perfectly where you're supposed to be. And when you take that approach, you actually get to where you want to be as fast as possible. It's when we think that we should be somewhere else that we feel bad about ourselves, and then we stop taking action. So be mindful about the way that you talk to yourself in relationship to your position in life and your goals. All right. So that's what's happening in my life and my business, and I will be doing a lot more episodes with experts moving forward, and this is going to be an amazing program. It already is. I'm charging too little for it, to be completely honest, just because I'm trying to get people in as many as possible so the community grows. So if you've been considering or you're thinking about it, I would recommend highly that you check out the link in the bio, and it's going to go up at some point. So again, it's not just about quitting vaping, it's about learning this skill set so that this will be the last vice you ever struggle with. Let me say that again. It's not about quitting vaping. It's about making this the last vice you ever struggle with or feel out of control to. So if that's the results you want, and you want to do that work, and you're excited about it and willing to do the uncomfortables of actually doing the worksheets and the exercises, you're going to get way more than the value I ever charge for the program, even when I raise it. So with that said, that was kind of a long intro. And I want to talk about today some common belief errors, some errors in thought, or some limiting beliefs. I don't care what you call them. Remember my framework, okay? And by the way, this framework isn't just for vaping. I'm going to say it again. It's for your entire life. The framework that I have for vaping is that there's 3 addictions. There's a mental addiction. That's your thoughts and your beliefs, your limiting beliefs that make you stuck to a substance, okay? They've been programmed into you your whole life. That's the mental addiction. There's an emotional addiction. That means that your brain is wired to not want to feel uncomfortable emotions. And in order to achieve not addiction with any substance or a whole bunch of them, you have to learn how to sit with your urges and cravings and override your brain's natural tendency to want to avoid and numb over your emotions with substances, okay? Remember that your brain really isn't the problem with the emotional addiction. It's that we are currently living in a society where our brains are normal, but society isn't normal, okay? Things like porn is like the most concentrated version of sex ever. You have instant access to that with your phone at any time. Nicotine, we've taken nicotine salts and made it as concentrated as possible. Sugar and fried foods, those are not normally occurring foods in nature. We've taken them and condensed it down. And pretty much any substance that our brain is naturally designed to want for survival, food, sex, comfort, pleasure, whatever, has been concentrated down into its most concentrated potential version of itself. And that's the problem. So your brain's working exactly how it should. That's why it's like, if you're addicted to nicotine, don't shame yourself or think there's something wrong with you. It's actually like everything is going right with your brain. That's why you've gotten so addicted to nicotine, because your brain is working exactly how it was designed to work. The problem is that your brain is mismatched now with an environment that is not natural. Okay? So in order to overcome vaping for good, you have to, 1, learn how to manage your thoughts, because those create your emotions. Okay? Second, you have to learn how to override your emotions, because it's not possible for you to always be managing your thoughts around your emotions. It just isn't possible, right? So the second skill set I teach is let's learn how to override our desire to avoid our emotions by learning how to be with them, process them, okay, feel them, right? And then the third addiction that I teach on is the chemical addiction. And when it comes to the chemical addiction of nicotine, you really just need solid education about what is and what is not the chemical addiction, and what is and what isn't the mental and emotional. The problem with most people when they're trying to quit vaping is that they think the nicotine withdrawal is a problem, and nicotine has never been the problem. Okay, it's the reason we're using nicotine is the problem. Does that make sense? So our thoughts and our emotions drive our actions, okay? And if you're noticing here how I'm talking, I didn't say anything about the circumstances of your life creating addiction, because the circumstances of your life, remember the things that are outside of your control, the facts, the actual hardcore facts of your life, what people say and think of you that aren't you, the past, how addictive nicotine actually is not what makes you use it. Yes, those go in; those things can trigger and influence you, but ultimately the skill set you need to build is truly understanding that your thoughts and your emotions are the problem, and those are within your control. The circumstances is things outside of your control. You can't control, and good thing, because those aren't even the problem anyways, okay? So today we're going to talk about some limiting thought errors or some limiting beliefs that stick you in addiction and keep you there, and they're not true. So remember, with any kind of a thought, a belief, just a sentence in our mind, that's a thought or a belief, And a belief is just a thought you keep thinking over and over until it's embedded, pretty much. They're optional, okay? They're optional. And the reason why you're having so much trouble quitting vaping, I promise you, this is the main problem, is that you think that your thoughts are facts. And if your thoughts are factual, we can't change them, right? We can't change a fact. The sky's blue. Can't change that. Can't control it. So if my facts of my life, the sky being blue is what makes me a nicotine addict, I'm screwed. Okay? And one of the biggest ones that is very obvious in my life is that my dad is still smoking 2 packs a day. Okay? And the story I used to tell myself about that, watching my dad and my mom smoke growing up, is that my family are nicotine users. I have an addictive personality because my parents are both addicted to something, and it's a gene that runs in my family. Do you see how it wasn't actually my mom or my dad and them smoking that made me end up smoking and vaping? It's that somewhere along the line, probably when I was very young, I picked up this whole belief system that the Ciprianos are smokers, it's in our DNA, I have an addictive personality, and there's nothing I can do about it. And you know what's interesting is that I never consciously looked at that thought until I started doing this work. So today we're going to look at some common thought patterns. And then again, I want to invite you, if this work sounds enticing to you, to check out the course while it's still a really amazing price. And if you're listening to this 3 or 4 months after September, it's probably already have gone up. But I want to tell you that my most important core value in my business is integrity. And that's very, very strict with my pricing. So if I'm charging something for my coaching or for my programs, it's because I know that they're worth it. And I will absolutely make sure that every person that shows up for themselves gets more than the value they paid. All right. And again, I want to make that clear. You have to show up for yourself. If you are going to take my programs or get coaching with me, please just be serious about it. If you show up serious, you're going to get so much ridiculously massive change from the coaching that I provide and the tools and the resources I provide. But please show up for yourself. Okay. One of the most tragic things I experience in my business is when somebody buys a product from me, like my vaping program or coaching, and then they stop showing up for themselves. It's really sad to me. So please, find a reason to motivate yourself to want to do this work, and I promise you I will help carry you and guide you along the way, and we will help each other create amazing lives. So with that said, let's look at some limiting beliefs that I see about vaping, and I'm just going to talk about them today, and we're just going to look at changing them with other ones, all right? Remember, this work is available to you no matter what point of your life you're at, no matter what your circumstances, the people, the places, the past you have, it doesn't matter. You can always decide to change a thought, and your change of thought will change your emotion, will change the actions you take, and create new results regardless of anything externally ever needing to change. And that, baby, is good life coaching 101. Let's do these. All right, so one of the common vape thought errors I hear is vaping reduces anxiety. All right, let me tell you something. Vaping does not actually reduce anxiety, it covers it up. All right, and I've done past episodes on this where I'm teaching you that, actually drug addiction does increase your anxiety by the very nature of addiction. That's the whole function of addiction, is to increase your anxiety. So all I want to offer to you is that you're currently somebody who's vaping and you're thinking it's helping you with anxiety. I just want you to question that and to consider changing that to a more logical or truthful thought, okay? The point of doing this work and looking at our thoughts and beliefs isn't to just change them and force them. That's not what we do. It's if you write it down and actually look at it, you'll probably be able to call bullshit on it relatively easily. So right when I wrote down vaping reduces anxiety in my life, I realized that I was lying to myself. Just getting it out of my head and seeing it on paper, I'm like, oh, that's not true. It's normal to vape. Here's another one, right? I had to change that for myself because I used to believe it was normal to vape, and I did it. And then when I went to parties and I was trying to quit, I thought I was the abnormal one. And let me tell you something. If you think it's abnormal for you to be taking the life that you want, it's going to make it much more difficult to quit. And honestly, there's plenty of places to find in the world where it's absolutely not normal to be consuming nicotine all the time. Okay? I won't enjoy my life without vaping. This is a really important one. Okay? First of all, whenever we have a belief like this, I just want you to get really specific and define words for yourself. Okay? So if the belief is, I won't enjoy my life as much without vaping, I want you to question what enjoy means. Because I've done past episodes on this before too. It's are you actually enjoying vaping, or is it creating a relief of some kind? And if you are enjoying it, right, you want to hold on to that word and that makes sense to you in your brain, then why are you choosing to believe that you can't enjoy your life as much without nicotine? Because again, you can find proof for that all day long, and that's what's making you addicted to nicotine. But you can also question that belief. Sit down with it. It's is my life more enjoyable with an addiction? Sit down and do the work. Write down all the reasons why your life sucks because of an addiction, and write down all the ways that your life would actually get better if you weren't literally dependent on something to feel good all the time, right? And you'll find very much that your life actually could be more enjoyable with vaping and without vaping. And then what you're going to see is that maybe that thought isn't true. And sometimes when we're doing thought work, the point isn't, again, to like go from a positive to a negative or a negative to a positive or just change the belief outright. It's just to shake it up, right? If you can just kind of wiggle that belief a little bit, oh, I can't live without vaping. You just wiggle it. One time you call just the smallest amount of bullshit on that belief system, you just unlock the key, because never again in that situation where that thought pops in your head will you fully believe it. And that's how we start the process of belief change, okay? Remember that every single belief you have in your head, the reason you believe it is because of repetition. Now, the problem with that is that most of the repetition you did when you were too young to even know that you were doing it. So it's like so many people are living their lives as 40-year-olds, as 50-year-olds with like literal 6-year-old belief systems. When they were 6 years old, they got that belief and they just carried it through adulthood because they've never done this work on them. Okay? And you, seriously, like I know people who are literally living as a 10-year-old in a 70-year-old's body because they've never looked at the thoughts that they're thinking with curiosity and compassion. They just believe them outright. And then they spend their whole life trying to solve for problems that are being created by thoughts that aren't true. Does that make sense? The reason why this works so good and why I think my coaching is the most important thing I could possibly teach people is because I'm doing causal coaching. I get right to the cause. It's always your beliefs. And if you have resistance to thinking that it's your beliefs that's creating your result, then I want to offer, you're not going to have any luck trying to change circumstances you can't control. If you need your dad or your girlfriend to quit vaping for you to be able to stop, that's a huge problem because you've completely just disempowered yourself from creating results without external things needing to change. That's literally the definition of a victim. It's someone who gives away power they have and acts like they haven't given it away. Okay? Another one I have is life would suck without vaping. I think that's pretty close to the other one. Like, check that belief, please. I think that one's really easy to call BS on because, like, listen, from the age of hopefully 1 to at least 16-ish, maybe 14, you weren't vaping. Did life suck all the time? Okay, so stop believing that one, right? Quitting is hard. Come on. It's not true. And here's what I want to offer to you. If you think quitting is hard, I want you to just reframe it a bit. Quitting has been hard for me in the past. You can even say this. Quitting is hard when I don't have the right tools that Andrew teaches. Yeah, I think quitting can be really hard when you're not actually getting to the cause and you're trying to willpower yourself away from your own thinking. Well, actually, quitting is impossible then. But I choose not to believe that. Quitting is possible when I have the right tools. Quitting is simple when I have the right tools. Quitting can be uncomfortable, but it's not hard. There's a difference, okay? Here's another one. There's nothing like vaping after a meal. Who has this? Or in the car, right? I have to hit my vape. On the way to work, I can't have a nice day at work without vaping, right? These are, and just remember, like the way that you form these beliefs about vaping is just repetition. So even let's say that no one in your life ever vaped or smoked, okay? You had no exposure, which isn't true. You always had exposure at some point to vaping when you were young. Like you had to have, right? It's in society. There's no possible way you didn't have subconscious beliefs forming about nicotine growing up. But let's just say in a perfect world, you didn't. All right, so there's no beliefs. And then you hit your first vape. And then what happens is like you hit it 2 times the next day, and then you hit it 3 times the next day. And then eventually you're driving on your way to work, just ripping at your vape mindlessly. The reason that's happening mindlessly is because you formed a belief that I need to vape in my car. It feels good. On the way to work, I vape, right? So just be mindful that you have a bunch of triggers you created because of your thoughts. Okay? So if something is a trigger, the only thing that makes something an external trigger is that you have a thought about it that makes you want to vape. And you've created that over time. So what I'm saying is that you can actually unwire your triggers, okay? Every single time, listen, you guys, I'm dead ass serious. From the moment that I woke up in the morning and like panically searched my sheets for my vape, to stepping out of bed, to getting in the shower, to being in the shower. I used to shower with my vape outside on the ledge so I could rip it while I was in the shower. And then I would get out and rip it a bunch until I almost passed out. I remember I almost passed out one day putting on my pants. Like, you guys, you can't make this shit up. Like, I was so, like, I got out of the shower one day. I don't even remember what was going on. I'm positive now looking back that I was going through something anxiety or stress provoking emotionally, and I didn't know how to deal with those emotions. I probably wasn't even aware of them. So I was like ripping on my vape while I was looking at my phone. And I was like literally putting on my underwear, and then I go to put on my pants and they were jeans, and my legs were still a little bit wet. You know when you like put on jeans and like they just stop? Like halfway through the leg, you're like, shit. And then you're like, I don't even know. At what point did putting on pants become an issue for me? But then I'm like halfway on with the right leg, and I like literally start to get woozy because I'm freaking trying to dance with vaping. You know when you hit your vape so much that you're about to pass out, and like, I don't know. I just remember that day, the resistance hit my pants, and I'm like, I'm going to pass out. Like, I told you guys, there's so many stories I have where it was just pathetic that I was like literally 24 years old and couldn't even stand up straight because I was vaping. And the shit that I went through because of addiction that I tried to justify was normal, right? And now I look back, I'm like, oh my God, like I have to have compassion for myself because I didn't have the tools back then. Anyways, I don't even know where I was going with that. All right, another set of beliefs to question is your relationship with nicotine and using it as a reward or a celebration. Okay, so I want you to define, like one of my clients said that I had her sit down and it's like, vaping is a reward after I do something hard. It's like, what do you define as a reward? Sit down and actually write that out. And for me, a reward, truly, like if you think about a reward, it's like something that makes my life better, that is a treat to me, that makes me feel good about myself. So like you can find ways to make vaping a reward for your belief systems. I just wouldn't recommend it. I would stop seeing it as a reward. Just because you stop seeing it as a reward doesn't mean you have to not do it. But it distances you a little bit further from buying into your bullshit that you need it to celebrate or feel good about yourself, right? All right. I'm just going to do a couple more and then we're going to stop. But I have a whole list of these in my course. And I actually teach you how to go through these and change them. So if you want help with that, or you're like, I kind of get what he's saying, like, you know, these things make sense and I need to change my beliefs, I don't know how to do that. That's why I offer a program that also offers coaching for anyone who signs up. That's group coaching. You can sign up and just like show up on a call and get the coaching you need on this stuff. But I also offer a ton of resources in the course. So, all right, I should be able to vape when my friends do it. This is a really victim-y belief, you guys. You guys are such victims if you believe this. Like, by the way, I'm doing this with food right now. Well, I should be able to drink. If Ron doesn't go, I don't know why. I just got a Harry Potter quote in my head. I should be able to eat whatever I want. You know, it's like we have those really victim-y beliefs. It's like, no, I don't want the results of being overweight, so I will not eat more than my body needs right now. And if I want to be overweight, then I can eat whatever I want. Okay? Whenever you have a should thought, I just want you to question it. I promise you, with so much certainty in my bones, a should, a could, a would, look, did, should, good, would. You ever seen Scary Movie 3? Would someone shut him the F up? Whenever you have one of those thoughts, like it's going to create suffering for you that's completely unnecessary. Okay? I always say that there's necessary suffering in life. That's the 50-50 life. That there's half good, half bad emotions. Life is filled with good and bad emotions. We're here to experience both and to hopefully create lives that achieves goals that have had to step into both of those kinds of emotions, right? That's the whole point of running a business or having a dream, is that you step into the scary emotions to create the really amazing ones, right? That's the point. That's necessary suffering. And then there's unnecessary suffering. Okay? And unnecessary suffering comes from believing thoughts or stories about your life that just make you feel like shit for no freaking positive reason at all. Okay? I should be able to vape right now when you're trying to quit is one of those exact belief systems. I shouldn't be overweight. Well, it's like, you are, bitch. Okay? So stop thinking you should be something that you aren't, and you'll drop the shame that you're putting on yourself, and then we can find out why you're overeating. Okay? Anyways. Another one we have, it's a thought error. It's a limiting belief, is I will be judged if I don't vape. And the reason I say that is because most people say that negatively, like it's a negative thing if you're going to be judged. And let me tell you something about life. You're being judged either way. Either by yourself or externally. Doesn't really matter which. Judgment is judgment in my book. But like, I promise you, if you quit vaping, there's going to be people who judge you. Your friends who want you to quit vaping are going to judge you. If you keep vaping, your mom and your dad and you are going to judge yourself. Okay? So what I always say, I really believe this, seriously. I believe this now, especially as I've stepped into my dreams a little bit, and I keep doing this every single day. It's much better to let other people judge you than to judge yourself. Okay? And I promise you, if you are addicted to nicotine right now and you want to quit, you are your biggest judge. And that hurts way more than your party friends who want to judge you for no longer vaping. And you will allow yourself to love yourself so much more if you care about your own judgments more than other people's. Okay? All right, vaping runs in my genes in my family. We talked about that one. That isn't true. By the way, there's no nicotine gene. They haven't proven that. That's bullshit. There's no such thing as an addictive personality, by the way. I have a 4-year in psych, and I studied this because I was curious. There's like no legitimate hardcore psychological data on the addictive personality thing. You know why people say that in the psychological world? Because they're fucking idiots, and because they don't understand that all addictions are emotional at their core. So if one person has an emotional problem with their emotions, they're going to have multiple addictions. That has nothing to do with your personality and everything to do with your lack of emotional intelligence and emotional practice. So don't allow yourself to believe that bullshit. That kept me addicted. You know what it was, actually, looking back at myself? It was a justification to let me vape. So I think that belief is, you know, sometimes psychology comes out with these pop psychology terms and then people just accept them as facts. And it's like, question those too, by the way. Hey, I'm giving you permission to question anything anybody says, myself included. Question my shit. If what I'm saying doesn't make sense to you, question the shit and pick a belief that serves you, okay? And make sure it creates results you want, and then I don't care what you believe. And even if I don't agree with your beliefs, who gives a shit? Again, care more about what you think about yourself and your life than what I care. Think about your life and blah, 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 right? Care more about your opinion more than other people's, and your life will get better. It's that simple, people. Okay? So the whole runs in my genes and family thing, get out of that. Get out of that line of thinking. All right, and then also I want to say this. I swear to God, I saw a video the other day where this guy said vaping cures ADHD. I swear to God that's what he said. Okay? Stop doing that shit. I understand ADHD is like a real thing, and I don't know how I feel about it, because I think it's real. I think it's extremely overdiagnosed. I think that there's a lot of people who make a lot of money diagnosing and treating, quote unquote, treating that with medication. And what I want to offer again is that you probably have a lot more control over that than you think, because it's an issue with your dopamine and because you're vaping and ruining your dopamine systems. So for you to have an issue with your dopamine, and then to say that the exact thing that's created your dopamine issue, which is vaping, is also solving the problem of ADHD, which is a dopamine issue, it just doesn't make sense to me. I refuse to believe it. Okay? And I want you to know that I'm in the place in my life right now where I love myself and my opinion so much that I'm willing to do the research and then to actually go against what most people believe in order to honor my own belief systems. So if you have resistance to that and you're like, well, I need vaping for ADHD, just know that that's an optional thought and it will lead you straight to drug addiction. So think that on purpose and make sure you like the result it's creating, or else stop believing that shit. I've been diagnosed with ADHD. I took Adderall for a year and a half, and I fucking loved it. Why? Because I got to be on speed every single day for a year and a half at work. Who doesn't love that? You know what I mean? Like, it felt great. I know that there's people out there like, well, Adderall doesn't do that for me. It's like, nope, don't lie to yourself. Adderall feels amazing, and that's why you like it. And it also suppresses your appetite, and that's why you like it. And that's fine. And maybe it does help you with ADHD. Like, I got a lot of shit done on Adderall. I'm not going to lie to you people. I'm not here to lie to you people. But, again, I just want you to question your own beliefs. And if you have resistance to what I'm saying, that's fine. Just check the reason you have the resistance, because it might be because you kind of believe what I'm saying. And if you check into the reason and you kind of like understand your own defensiveness around that and you like why you're believing it, fine. But just do your work. You know what I mean? Like, I'm defensive all the time about other people's beliefs. And most of the time, the defensiveness I have is directly because I believe what they're saying and I don't like that I believe it. That's pretty much what defensiveness is. People who don't get defensive don't have any of their subconscious belief bullshit swirling around their head, okay? So just want to offer that, all right? All right, we're going to do 2 more and then I'll end. And I have a whole list of these again. There's a whole bunch of them, and I'll teach you how to actually get over them. Let's do nicotine withdrawal is really strong. That is a limiting belief, okay? And here's how I would offer that you can potentially reframe this one. Chemical nicotine withdrawal is very weak. Emotional and mental nicotine withdrawal is very strong, and I actually have full control over the mental and the emotional withdrawal if I learn Andrew's tools. So the actual nicotine withdrawal isn't the problem, it's that I think my thoughts and emotions are part of that withdrawal, which they aren't. There you go. Last one. I am someone who vapes. This one might seem really simple, but I will tell you that when I was vaping, I had the identity of someone who vaped. And here's what's really interesting. This will help you this will be like a mind warp for you, because it was for me. When I stopped vaping, and I actually stopped vaping, I no longer saw myself as someone who was quitting vaping, because someone who doesn't vape doesn't identify as someone who's quitting vaping. Does that make sense? I no longer identified as someone who has trouble managing nicotine, right? You actually can, by the way, you can actually change those thoughts and beliefs about yourself before you quit vaping. And cough, cough, if you haven't learned anything from this podcast yet, it's the shift in your beliefs and thoughts that will create the result of not vaping. Make sense? So I would recommend right now, if you are identifying as someone who vapes and like having all the thoughts about it, you having those thoughts and beliefs is actually keeping you vaping, and you have to change those thoughts before you can quit. Okay? So this has been a really juicy episode, hasn't it? It's pretty good. This shit's good, you guys. I offer a fuck ton of free value in this podcast. All right. Like, find a way to like reach out and thank me for it, or just join my program, because I really do want to help you. And again, this isn't about quitting vaping. It's about not only making this the last substance you ever struggle with, but that foundation of understanding why you're using substances and how to stop. That's the foundation you build the life with you want. Okay. This is just the beginning, and I really want you to come on this ride with me. And this shit is really good. Again, it's going to be cheaper for the next couple weeks, and then I'm raising this shit the fuck up because it's worth it. It's worth every single penny you're going to pay, and I will guarantee that you get what you paid out of it as long as you meet me halfway. Meet me halfway, sun at the melody. I love Fergie. Okay, sorry. Meet me halfway, bitches. You know what I'm saying? If you sign up for my shit, you best be ready to sign up and actually like get uncomfortable a little bit and do the work. And I will hold your. I'm gonna hold your hand. I'm gonna hold your hand. Sorry, I went to this Arts Beats and Eats yesterday in Royal Oak, and they played all these amazing songs. It was so fun. I saw what is that band called? Oh my god, Cheap Trick. I saw Cheap Trick live yesterday. What? That's so cool. Surrender, surrender. Mommy's alright. Daddy's alright. They just seem a little weird. All right. I decided about 3 weeks ago that my music career is not real goal, or else I would have done it by now. So I'll stop torturing you guys. So anyways, long story short, these are limiting beliefs. If you want to quit vaping, you got to change your beliefs, feel your emotions. And that's just the pinnacle of what I teach. It really isn't even about that. It's about, again, you being able to step into actually, for the first time in your life, going, holy shit. I think that what I actually want is possible because of the tools I learned how to quit vaping. And then I gotcha. And then we can go after the big life you want. And that's my goal for you. That has always been my goal for you. And this is just a starting point. So thanks for being here, guys. I'll see you next week. I'm going to have more experts on. I did a absolute banger of an episode with my friend Hannah Watkins, who's a weight loss coach, and she's amazing. And that will be coming out and rolling out in the next couple weeks. So thanks for being here. You is kind, you is smart, you is important, and I will see you next week.